Hey friends, Jessica here with Creators Couture. I'm back with a really fun tutorial, and this one is actually based off of a question or request from a community member, and it was how to create with a tie-dye effect, but to create this kind of ombre color situation where you've got like one color going into another one. And it's a little bit different than the multicolor tie-dye brushes that I already have because a lot of you guys are familiar with them. So we've got the multicolor tie-dye brushes that, oh my gosh. Okay, new, let's close that. All right, we got a new layer here. So this is the multicolor, the watercolor tie-dye brush studio. And lots of you guys love to use it because it lets you create these really amazing watercolor strokes, multicolor, and it's just so easy, so effortless, and so fun. However, if you have like a whole artboard here and you go like this, it can be quite cool. You can adjust the size of the pattern in there, but it's not that ombre effect where it's like one color going into another. So I'm going to show you how to do that. That's really simple actually. And what we're going to be doing is rather than using a regular color palette, multicolor color palette, like most of the brushes use, we're going to actually use the put the color on the artboard to size, and we're using the same technique essentially as the instapressionist brushes, and I will link them below, but a lot of you guys are familiar with them. And what that does is that keeps the colors in place so that when you paint on them, it's going to keep the whatever is the pattern that we set underneath it. So let's just go right into it. So this was kind of the inspiration and jumping off point, but we're going to do something even a little cooler. So we've got that kind of, orange tie-dye going into that pink, and you've got your transition and everything. So we are going to do that. Don't save this. And I thought since it's coming on fall, we could do something fun. So we could do like a Halloween color palette. So actually what I did was I went over to color.adobe.com and I searched Halloween and I got this palette and I really liked it. So I'm like, let's work with this. So I actually just added it to my library. So it's right here in my little library, and let's find it. Okay, so we've got this color palette here. And so basically I'm going to take my artboard and I want to create this color gradation how I want it to look like based on those colors. So I'm going to do it from start to finish here. So let's get a blank artboard. And also if you are one of my subscribers, you can get the source files and everything. But here's my layers actually if you look over here. And so all I did was I actually just used like the gradient tool and the paint bucket tool to create this gradient here. So just to make it like, I just went really easy actually. So let's just close this. So first of all, I'm going to go over here, grab my paint bucket tool, and then I'll get this light color and go like this. And next, now I'm just going to use gradient. So I'll go to my gradient tool. I'm using the classic gradient because the other one I am just not feeling it. So I will, let's see here, let's put it underneath here. Okay, just so we can keep an eye. So I'll make these all on separate layers and then I can merge them all together. So let's go grab the next color, which is the darker orange, and let's get the right gradient. So we've got our gradient tool. I've got classic gradient. I've selected foreground to transparent, and we're going to use just this gradient here. So I like that. And actually what I did is I actually added another orange color step because I wanted a little bit more intense. So I liked that. Let's just go like that. Okay. So you can play around with it. Work on separate layers so it's non-destructive. Let's make a new layer here. And now let's go into this, let's see here, purple. Okay. So let's go to the next purple. And I'm liking this gradient, so I'll just leave it. Let's make one new layer here. And let's go into the darker purple. And you can always, let's see here, play around with it if you're not happy. But Okay, that's pretty good. I might actually go back to the lighter purple, add a little bit more. Then let's go darker. Okay, happy with that. And then make a new layer. And the last color is that kind of black. So I'll just add that there. So I have a gradient that I'm happy with. And this is kind of what I want the general flow of my ombre gradation to do. So I'm going to take those layers and I'm going to select them, I'll group them, I'll make a new layer above it, and now I'm going to hit, I think this is a universal command. I'm going to hit Command Option Shift, or it would be Command Alt Shift and E. So that merges everything onto one layer. And now I'm going to set that as my pattern for my pattern stamp tool technique. So I'm going to hit Command M and I'll just put, let's see here. Yeah, I'll hit OK. And let's go here. And then what I can also do is I can drag this layer to duplicate it. I drag it onto the thing. I'm going to hit Command T and I'm going to reverse it. And I might want to play with it the other way. So I'll hit Enter and I'll hit, let's see here, Edit, Define Pattern. And I'll just call this reverse. Click OK. Now it's interesting, when I created my, where did it put them? Okay, it put them here. This is something interesting that happens. Like when I saved it, first of all, it saved it as like the full square, but now it, because it's a straight gradation, it should still work just fine, but it cuts it down to this. And I don't know what was the difference of that. It's quite interesting. But anyway, either way it should work. So we've got both of them. Now, for example, I just want to kind of compare and contrast here. So I actually dragged this, one of these gradation layers over here to this artboard. And now if you guys use my multicolor brushes a lot, you will know that usually I create the multicolor palettes. Maybe they will be like, they're not too big, so like 300, 400, 500, between 250 and 500 is usually the size to make a good color palette. So if I was going to make a classic color palette where I wanted to use with my other brushes, I would use it, make put it down in this size, and then I'll go over here and I will also go Edit, Define Pattern, and I'll just call this one small. And now it's interesting because this one should still, it doesn't make it like really thin, teeny tiny, but anyway, it's fine. All right, let's deselect that. So here's another one I'll just do, and Command M. Okay, now see how this one made it small? I don't know the difference anyway. Okay, so let hit small 2, whatever. All right, so this is the difference like of these. So say I can take, tie-dye brush number 5, and then let's use just these small palettes that I just created. And I'm hovering over this because I want to make sure I got a small one and not the big one. Maybe this is, let's see here. Since I can't really tell, I'm going to go to the top right here and I'm going to click Large List. Okay, so here's the small and small 2. Okay, so here this way, and it still looks gorgeous. This is, the classic multicolor brush. So you just get all those delicious, yummy colors coming out of there. And I mean, chef's kiss. Of course, you can do it with all the different brushes. That's the beauty of the multicolor technique. I also just did some loose watercolor brushes that turned out really lovely. Make those a little bit bigger. So here's some of the loose watercolor, and you still got all those gorgeous colors mixing up and everything. So that's fun. But let's get back to what we just did here, as setting this whole huge artboard as our pattern. So we are good to go. And I'm going to show you some different variations. So now when I, let's see here, which ones did I just do? Ombre Halloween, Ombre setup, small. Okay, these got out of order, but I'll just go back to my original anyway. You should probably don't do like me and name your things, but here's some different variations. So when I put the brushes, all of you, as you guys know, with the multicolor brushes, is basically what it does is the little marks that are coming out of the brush, they get scattered when I'm doing the multicolor brushes. And so what we're doing with this technique is we are scattering them using the impressionist technique, but rather than being unaligned like we use on most of the brushes, we're going to use the instapressionist technique where it's aligned. And so that way, when I paint over, it's not going to deviate too far from that original gradation that we created for our whole artboard. And so it gives you a lot of liberty. You don't have to worry about picking the color, moving on to the next color, making that yourself. You can just grab any of my brushes, just start painting on that artboard, and it'll more or less cohere to that gradation. But what's cool is the brushes scatter slightly differently. So some will scatter the purple onto the yellow, and so then you'll automatically get those cool gradations. So I'm just going to show you a couple examples that I had here. So this one I did with the actual tie-dye brushes, and that was like a lot of fun. And this is even like I added some extra, but this is kind of minimalist sort of version of this to kind of answer the original question. So this is kind of a tie-dye interpretation of this technique. And you can keep layering brushes, keep, adding, subtracting, whatever, and you're always going to kind of keep that ombre thing. So this one is with a tie-dye. This one I used some floral brushes that I just released for my members, and I used some loose watercolor and even some stars, and I'll show you how I did that later. And then this one I used my pattern painter brushes, which was really fun, and you can get these like, I mixed up the patterns and created this really cool gradation. So that's a lot of fun. So, you can just have fun with it, mix and match brushes, but let's get started here. So I'm actually going to, I'm going to go ahead and, what am I going to do? My ombre setup here. So here's is that my original one? And then that's a reverse. Okay. I think so. Yes, more or less. Huh. Okay, let's just make it new here because I want to work on this one. So I'm going to deselect so it puts it at the end. I will name my layers. So let's just make a new layer. All right, Command Option Shift E, it's merge all layers. And I'm going to hit Command M and I'm going to put, let's see here, Demo 1. Okay. And now let's just duplicate that layer, change it, spin it around, Command M. Let's see our demo reverse. Okay, we are golden. Let's just save this. And now, which brush? I'm going to see which brushes. So, okay. So let's just, first of all, it looks very clinical because it is a, it's a gradient made straight with a gradient tool in Photoshop. So it does not look it looks mechanical. It looks not artistic. So let's go in and soften this. And I'm going to grab loose watercolor brush number 15. This, you can grab any brush that you have. This one is actually, I've pre-released it to my subscribers on Behance, but I'll have it for sale soon. And you can just grab any of my impressionist brushes. Now I'm going to right bracket because I want this brush to be a little larger. So as you can see, as I'm painting, it's holding that gradation. And now very key is that, it's funny, they changed these icons at the top, but very key, if you go up here, this one is the impressionist, that you just, impressionist effect. This one is to make sure that it used to be called aligned or not aligned, but this is aligned. So it says use the same, let's hover over it, use same offset for each stroke. So we want to click that, which is basically the old aligned, and just paint over this. And now we're getting that soft, wonderful painted effect. and it will look nice. So we are good. And then you can just, it's cool because you can just pick it up, start painting another stroke, and it's not going to go too far off of the alignment of the thing, but it will, each time you do it, you know, you can keep adding more strokes, and it will be different every time. So it's just lovely, just amazing. So this is the first one. We are happy with this. Let's make a new layer. And here it looked like I played with, okay, 3B pattern painter. So I'm just gonna try to recreate that a little bit. And let's see here. 3B pattern painter. Okay, so I want to go to the tie-dye brushes. Let's find those. And let's go to 3B pattern painter. All right. So we're just changing the brush. We don't need to change anything about the color palette, anything about this. And now I can just go in. And as you can see, every brush will disperse those colors in a slightly different way. So how gorgeous is that? We are getting like all this really cool ombre sort of effect and just having fun with it. I love it. So this is basically the technique. What's fun is you can yeah, just keep grabbing different brushes. Oh, I grabbed like brush 17, which I thought was really fun. Okay. And what I would recommend is to work non-destructively. So I put every brush stroke, if I remember, on a new layer. And here's brush 17. So as you can see, they disperse them all differently, but just so much fun. And say, one thing that I will tell you, say you want like to just shake it up a little bit. You want a little more, you know, like orange over here or what have you. So let's just make a new layer, and then we can always go back and do like one color brushes. So here, let me just grab my regular brush tool, and then let's go to, say, brush number 17, tie-dye. Well, that one might be a little bit too strong. Let's use my color picker and option click and grab some of that gorgeous gold. And, you know, I can kind of, let me go down here. So I can, you know, kind of, yeah, pull some of that down a little bit more. So it just adds a little bit more, you know, excitement, different. So it's not super, super perfect. And I can do the same thing. This really works, like, say, in the area where it's really blending like this. If I click over here, let's get some of that purple, kind of break it into there. And so it kind of adds some fun, you know, accents where it makes it a little bit more exciting. And, you know, you could add some down here, but you really kind of want to like sample not far away. So because if I add that down here, it might look a little bit weird. Maybe you like it, I don't know. But if you're really wanting to hold on to that ombre effect, and then let's go, like I could grab some purple here and maybe pull some purple down into the black just a little bit more. You know, you could just have a little fun with it. So a lot of fun things. And I think that's everything for now, but mainly I wanted to go over this technique for you, and please feel free to send me in your requests, your questions, because I will love to turn them into a tutorial like this. And hopefully that answered my original, the original person, I think it was Sydney, that asked me that question. And then I will have, I might go, I have to jump off here, but what I might do is share this on a live stream on Behance soon. I might go live and I will show how I did the other ones here. So you can just check that out. Make sure you're following me on Behance, and go to my website. I am going to start doing live streams again. I kind of took the summer off, but now it is time to get busy. So I really like that because we can chat a little bit and have a little bit of fun, and it's a little bit more interactive. But I will have these resources, my source files, available for my Behance subscribers. Drop any questions you have down below in the comments, and make sure that you're subscribed so that you get notified whenever I have my new videos out. And also, I have my newsletter, so I always take care of my newsletter people. But I'm happy to be back. Just again, let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you on the next tutorial.